Of course, this morning, the ride-sharing rivalry that's tearing up headlines. Lyft now out with earnings last night, while Uber already out with results on Wednesday. The reception on Wall Street couldn't be any different. Now, Lyft receiving a slew of downgrades from Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and others compared to Uber, which saw analysts reiterate their calls and raise price targets at Susquehanna and Goldman Sachs. Well, joining us now to talk about the tale of two rideshares, Yahoo Finance's Pras Subramanian and Allie Canal. So, Garfinkle, apologies there. So, Allie, first starting with you here. A very different picture here. People don't seem to have as much faith in Lyft. We talked about it being perhaps the backup, the alternative to Uber. They don't even seem to be getting that much love at the moment, Allie. Yeah, it's a tale of two cities situation, a best of times, worst of times situation. And the truth is, for Lyft, it should be closer to the best of times here. The rideshare recovery is definitely happening, and we know that because we're looking at data not only from Uber, but from Lyft itself. For example, I keep thinking about this Raymond James number that I saw at the very end, right before earnings, which basically said, active driver numbers are up 40% year over year. So they should be benefiting from this recovery. And we know for a fact that Uber is. You only need to look at Uber's year over year revenue jumps, right? 49% this quarter, 72% last quarter. So that rideshare recovery is happening. But I think people are definitely getting nervous and scared because that Q1 guidance that was coming out of Lyft was such a big miss. And I mean, it certainly wasn't what I was expecting. I got on here yesterday, Rochelle, ready to make the case for the bull case for Lyft, say maybe we've been too hard on them, but it certainly doesn't look like it. And I mean, it's not like it was all roses for Uber either. And we did see some declines when it comes to their food delivery side as well, Pras. So what do you think they loved more about Uber than Lyft?
Well, I mean, food deliveries was up 6.5%, so they were actually trending higher. And Allie mentioned that massive revenue gain from a year over year, 50% almost in operating. And then CEO Dara Khosrowshahi talking about they're going to hit profitability later this year. I mean, that's huge, right? But we got to turn back to Lyft. I mean, I'm sorry, but two things that struck out for me. I mean, that big miss on guidance was, I mean, that was also after they had conservatively guided for the quarter anyway, and they missed it there. Two things that I can't understand. So they talked about how they had to cut costs in order to match Uber's, fares. Uber managed it, Lyft couldn't do it. Why not? Secondly, they talked about how seasonal weather, winter weather affected their bike ride-sharing business. First of all, you can model for winter, right? You can actually do that. And secondly, you're telling me the bike ride-sharing business has a huge impact on bottom line? Like what's going on here? I honestly think that Lyft quarter, there's a reason why it's getting downgraded like crazy, and there's a reason why the stock is getting hammered today. Because I think, like I said, tale of two ride-sharing companies. Uber is just way, way, way on top of it in terms of an operational. All kinds of business avenues they have with rideshare. I'm sorry, with delivery and freight and things like that. And I just think Lyft is a one-trick pony, and right now it's not doing many tricks.
Well, and the other thing too is you have to wonder how diversification is playing a role here, right? Like that bike share business. Like you and I both sat here and we kind of chuckled because we were like, how big could that bike share business really be? How much of a big difference could it really be? And I wonder if the fact that Uber has this diversification that people are just so excited about, right? Micromobility, delivery, freight. There's a full freight business nobody really talks about, but is there. And I wonder if that's what's getting at them. The other thing too is Uber's a more international business, Pras.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's a bad idea to focus on the U.S. if you're Lyft, because that's where sort of the majority of this is happening. But like you said, going across international borders, going across with freight. I mean, I think Travis Kalanick thought of Uber as a logistics company first, right? And I think that's kind of panning out. And I think it needed Dara Khosrowshahi to actually fulfill that vision, and it's really happening. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of Dara, but he's really doing the job. And I think you have to ask Lyft, management changes coming? Something? I mean...
But you're not a big fan of Lyft?
I'm not going to get into that, but...
I mean, I will say, with all the offerings that Uber has, that's the reason why you are seeing a lot more drivers going to Uber. You have a lot more options there. It makes sense. And I did see some Uber boats while I was in England, so that international footprint also big as well. Pras and Allie, thank you so much for breaking all that down for us.